Welcome, everybody, to Va-Dor's Touch of Torah. We are pleased to have tonight with us again Andrew Susman, our educator and Cantorial Spiritual Leader. Unfortunately, Rabbi Barry will not be with us tonight. He's ill, and Andy has jumped in the past 45 minutes, has done some Devar Torah and gotten everything ready and prepped for our conversation tonight. So thank you for joining us and take it away, Cantorial Spiritual Leader, Andy.
Well, once again, one of my signature elements of when I present is this medley of Torah songs. So let's begin. Al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, al shlosha devarim, ha'olam omed. The whole world stands on three things. The whole world stands on three things. Al shlosha devarim ha'olam omed. On Torah and on prayer and on deeds of loving kindness. Al haTorah ve'al ha'avodah ve'al gemilut chasadi. It is a tree of life to those who hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. It is a tree of life to those who hold fast to it, and all of its supporters are happy. Shalom, 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 shalom. Torah, 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 Tziva lanu Moshe, Yisrael, Yisrael, Ve'oraita, Charu, Torah, Ora, Torah, Ora, Hallelujah, Torah, Ora, Torah, Ora, Hallelujah. So Torah is light. Praise God. So here we are. I want to thank everybody for tuning in tonight once again to study Torah. There's a certain bracha that we say when we gather and for the explicit purpose of studying Torah. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech or Ruach ha'olam asher kedeshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu la'asok b'divrei Torah, for soaking, for engaging in words of Torah. So on that note, I asked Sharon if she'd be so kind as to let me screen share. I think she already did. So let me start popping up some documents again. Let's see if I can find them. That's the challenge always. Hey, Lord have mercy. Oh boy. Let's try that one. Yep, that is. We are successful. So let's try. Let's put it. Well, this one. Quotes. Yeah, that one. Okay, there we go. So that's not the one I wanted. I just deleted it, I think, one of them. Let's go back to I just deleted the one I wanted. All right, here's the deal. What I'm going to do is I'm going to sing the one that I just deleted. So how's that grab you? But before I do that, let me bring this one up. Okay, so this particular portion is called Naso. And here's a beautiful, let me make this larger. Let me make it larger. Always here. Boom, boom. Okay. All right. So, naso means to promote or conduct. And so, one of the core things of this particular portion, in the latter part, is the priestly benediction. So we're going to learn a little bit about that, but let me begin with this song that we're familiar with, As We Bless. So I want you to close your eyes for a minute because I accidentally deleted the document, but you're familiar with these words. As we bless the source of light and life, so we are blessed. As we bless the source of light, so we are blessed. as we bless the source of life. So we are blessed, and the blessing gives us strength and makes our visions clear, and the blessing gives us peace and the courage to dare, as we bless the source of life. So we are blessed, as we bless the source of light. So we are blessed. Okay, so let's begin. Let the blessings flow. And I love that title for this Devar because it totally ties into the essence of the purpose of the priestly benediction and even the kavanah to share with you as we bless. As we engage in blessing, as we engage in Torah study, blessings flow. So let's begin reading. I'm going to call people. I know Stanley and Joel were first out of the box, so we'll begin with them. Joel, would you be so kind and to start right at the top, talking about?
Talking about God can be complicated, especially when, like me, you don't always know what you believe. One tradition I use as a parent to help give my children a sense of spirituality can be found in this week's Torah portion, NASO.
Not so. Okay.
NASO. You want me to do the yellow
Yeah,
part?
keep going. Read what's in bold.
This portion highlights everyone's ability to be a
Clay
Clay
Kodesh.
Kodesh, or a sacred vessel, by blessing others and thus receiving God's blessings ourselves.
So that last part, by blessing others, as we bless the source of light and life, so we are blessed. Now, think about that for a minute. The priestly benediction is God's blessing to us, and yet when we offer it to others, we are God's proxy. And so it's a holy act to stand in for God. Now, tonight, I'm standing in for the rabbi. And so the reason why I say the little tongue-in-cheek is the priests were the conduits to learn how to be holy vessels. Holy vessels. Blessels, a Freudian slip, holy vessels. New word, write that down. Talk to Oxford Dictionary. Holy vessels. Okay, so Stanley, would you continue in this week's portion?
In this week's Torah portion, Naso, we find the priestly blessing from Numbers 6:24 to 26, with which the priests are to bless the people of Israel.
Keep reading.
May God bless you and protect you. May God deal kindly and graciously with you. May God bestow favor upon you and grant you peace.
Okay, now there's different translations of that, but that is definitely true to the gist of it. Continue reading Harris, Jacob Milgram.
Okay. Hold on. Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. Jacob Milgram, referred by Robert Alter in his Numbers commentary, describes the three clauses as embodying a rising crescendo of 3, 5, and 7 words. With the beauty of these words and imaginary they awoke, the sentence following them could go overlooked.
Okay, so if you do the quick math, 3, 5, and 7, a total of 15 words. So, but the idea is there's a certain pattern to the phrase rising crescendo, and the whole idea is the first with brevity. The text gets our attention, and then they throw 2 extra words, and then they threw 2 extra words beyond that. So they're kind of pulling you in to do. The person reciting this is being pulled in, and the person hearing it is being pulled in to the whole moment. So it's a whole dance of sacredness and holiness, those 15 words. So continue. Who else is here beside Joel, Stanley, Harris? Obviously Sharon. Who else is here?
Alan Lichtenberg and
Alan.
Wendy.
Okay, Alan, would you continue,
Wendy.
please? And who else?
I
Wendy.
think I'm unmuted, but I can't see the screen. It's very, very small. I'm on my phone.
Okay, no worries, no worries. Can Wendy see the screen? Okay. All right.
No,
Sharon?
Can you read?
Andy,
Yeah.
in about 10 minutes, I'll be on my iPad, so call me after.
Okay, gotcha. No worries. Okay. And okay, Sharon, and they shall set.
And they shall set my name over the Israelites, and I myself shall bless them. Numbers 6:27.
Keep going. It
That the
seems.
priests here are God's helpers in enabling God's holiness to reach the people. What might this helper role of the priests be called? The Torah offers a wonderful answer: Kalei Kodesh, or sacred utensils, a term introduced in last week's portion. The priests are the tools of holiness that bring God's blessing to the people. It is in this vein that some congregations refer to their senior leadership as Kalei Kodesh, sacred utensils who help the community receive blessing. Today, anyone can be Kalei Kodesh and help bring God's holiness into the world. That's powerful. And by serving as a sacred utensil, we are also receiving God's blessing.
So here's an idea. We can pause for a minute. I would like each of us to serve up Touch of Torah. Let's invite at least one new person next week, week after. I think I'm slated for 2 weeks from tonight again. So let's open up the community to hear these words of Torah and receive and participate in offering blessing. Today, clergy and educators often include these ancient words of blessing as we mark joyful life cycle events. Skip down to the highlight. Jewish tradition places these sacred words in the mouths of parents as part of the weekly practice of blessing children on Shabbat. And so this woman who's giving this devar said this was not a tradition she grew up with. However, she embraces it as an educator and as a parent. And she says she experiences awe. She wants her children to experience awe and a sense of spirituality. Through saying the priestly benediction, I, like the priests of old, am helping to bring God's blessings to them. Okay, so in underlined area, Stanley, read what's underlined. When any.
Wait a minute. Wait. Gotta unmute you first. Go start again, Stan.
When any of us offer these sacred words from the Torah, we are both enabling God's blessing for someone else and receiving God's blessing ourselves.
Beautiful.
I encourage.
Yeah, that's good. You want to keep going? No, it's not. That's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Okay. So I'm going to share a different slide. Do you see that where it says I share Yatzar?
Yep.
Excellent. Okay. So the essence of what we just read was the woman wants to engender a sense of awe and spirituality in her children. But the only way to really do that is not through words, but through her vibe. She has to feel a sense of awe, and the children will be witnessing her interaction with the Word, with God, that God experienced. Here is a wonderful prayer from the morning service for the body, a prayer for the body, Asher Yatzar. And I'm going to sing this to you, and I'll explain in a minute what in the chorus or the refrain in the middle. So here we go. Just give it a listen. Here we go. Just listen. I thank you for my life. body and soul. Help me realize I am beautiful and whole. I'm perfect the way I am, and a little broken too. I will live each day as a gift I give to you. So the refrain is, instead of O-H-O, I'm going to say aw. Baruch atah Adonai Rofeh chol basar umafli la'asot. Baruch atah Adonai Rofeh chol basar umafli la'asot. One more time, behind your muted screen, you can join me in the awing 4 times. Oh, 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 I thank you for my life, body and soul. Help me realize I am beautiful and whole. I'm perfect the way I am. I'm a little broken too. I will live each day as a gift I give to you. One last time, give me the 4 ahs. Oh, oh, oh. So, before we get too far afield, let's translate the Hebrew there. Blessed are you, God, who heals all flesh, working wondrously. So, we were reading that Devar, and it said that any of us could be clay kodesh, vessels of holiness. But we have to emulate that. We have to be models of that holiness. So if we just, in the morning, if we had just a or 2 or 3 prayers that sort of opened up our day so that we would feel holy, we would not feel like imposters when we were asked to recite the priestly benediction. We would be like the priests of old, God's proxy, and in some regard, God incarnate. We are all part of the all, the totality. Okay, so let's get rid of this. I mentioned earlier that I wanted Sharon and I to sing this or share this. So I'm going to chant the Hebrew to a melody, and then Sharon will do the English. So here we go. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and keep you.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
May God's face shine upon you and be gracious to you.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yashem lecha shalom.
May God's face be lifted up to you and grant you the precious gift of peace.
V'yashem lecha shalom. So, I also didn't grow up with the tradition of reciting this as a parent, or my parents reciting it to me, but I have seen it done on a Friday evening. Parents do that prior to the Shabbos meal, right after the Kiddush, and it's a beautiful tradition. And I would say, and I could get this document to Sharon and she could share it with you guys. And I got something to ask you about that from last week. Um, so basically many of you have grandchildren. I actually am a new grandpa, almost a year-old child, gorgeous little girl. I keep seeing pictures and someday soon maybe see her in person. But maybe you could make a special next time you see your grandchild, you can engage them with this text. And even if they're a teenager or in college or a young adult, you can just make up for lost time. You could share this blessing and start a tradition and don't look back. Just roll forward. Yes, Sharon, go ahead.
So the blessing for the children on Friday night, is it the same as this?
No, that's another blessing. That's
Okay,
the make them like Ephraim and Menashe if they're boys, and
right.
make them like Sarah, Rivka,
Rebecca and
Leah, and
Leah.
Rachel. That's another one. But that's not really recited. That's not sung. So you would do both these blessings. First that one, and then this one. So let's look at one other Torah portion that I came up with here. Okay, so speaking of blessing the children, one of the things that Jacob did as his last act, he didn't recite these words explicitly, but he did bless the children before his passing. And so there's an example of an elder blessing children. So let's see here. Let's see here. So one of the reasons that this is a little more scholarly the way this one's written. One of the reasons for let me make it larger. Sorry, for doing this blessing is that is that we talked about this last week about you better follow the rules or else. And so this priestly benediction is kind of like a carrot and a stick. And the idea is that if you do the right things, you will receive these blessings. And so it's a pretty strong enticement to be on the side of good. And I'll tell you a funny story. Today I substitute taught. Today I taught second grade, and I had two different classes. They were pretty well behaved, and most of it was just teaching. Not even teaching. I gave them some math worksheets. A few kids I worked one-on-one with and got them over some challenges. But the actual interaction part for the class was a sheet on good health. What are good things to do? What are bad things to do? And the good things, of course, eating fruits and vegetables, and maybe drinking proper liquids. And the bad things are don't smoke or drink alcohol, or don't stay up late at night watching TV or playing video games. And it was really a fun so where it went was the kids were more than happy to start sharing real stories about their grandparents, about when they died and why they died or how they died, and they didn't live a healthy life. Maybe this one smoked or whatever they were telling me. And we had a very loving exchange. It was kind of cool. So and that exchange happened with the first group. The second group, other things preempted that piece of the puzzle, but we had other engagements. So having said that, once again, it says, as in Parshat Behar, which is a few portions ago, toward the end of the last book, God implies that there will be material rewards that come with living a spiritual and morally upstanding life. Okay. By reading the text in this manner, we can hear a message stating that those who link themselves with God and the people of Israel will be blessed. So we've all seen when we study Torah many times, those that bless the people of Israel will be blessed, and those that curse will be cursed. So once again, this constant drumbeat of do it my way or else. And so let me, now you'll notice that this particular rabbi, Kerry Olitsky, he's from an organization, Big Tent Judaism. Very interesting term. I have not researched that. I would like to go into that, but let's go back to the title of this real quick. Very, very spare, the priestly benediction. And then once again by Rabbi Kariuski, pretty famous rabbi in the Reform movement. And those who link themselves with God and the people of Israel will be blessed. Okay, let me use that. Okay, let me stop screen share and we can have a conversation. There we go. So I'm going to make my view a gallery view, so I'm not quite as prominent. All right, so let's have a chat a little bit about how you see the priestly benediction, where you can fit it into your life. And I guess if you've never done it or never recited it, it's aspirational. In other words, we have to create in ourselves a sense of holiness or a connection to divine so we can emote this. We can be clay kodesh, holy vessels. So once again, we're in the modern age, vis-a-vis no more priesthood, post-rabbinic time to some degree, and so we are representatives. There's no interlocutor. We have to be Torah. We have to represent Torah. We are the Jewish people. We are here tonight because we affiliate with Jewish culture and Jewish faith. What is it we can attest to and model that will be reflected by when we say the priestly benediction? Anybody?
Well, Andy, I wanted to ask you this first. Is there a certain spot that this priestly
Okay, yes, okay. When is it said? Correct. So here's the deal. First and foremost, the rabbis say this on virtually any holy occasion, a bar mitzvah, a wedding, once again, a Friday night when he's maybe blessing his congregation. Once again, a parent on a Friday night would bless their children. But I'm suggesting, given that we can make it a little more broad than even that, the next time you see your grandchild or even your child, you can make up for lost time with that connection. Say the blessing. And because you are the primary are the primary conduit to God. You're the first representative. You're the high priest representing the mishpucha, the interface with your child, with your grandchild. So you can create your own sacred moments. And the idea is that you're creating a moment of a holy moment. You will be a holy vessel. I opened up with as we bless the source of light and life, as we model the idea of holiness, we become holy, we engender holiness, and so forth. Does that answer your question?
Yes, I think the words are beautiful. I think I would love to see it on our Friday night service every
There you go.
week.
It is. It is. It's almost every week. Rabbi Barry says it, and
Well, in
I
his
do.
words, but not these words.
No, he won't say those words. He'll say the Hebrew. He does the Hebrew, but he has his own translation. I'll show you the translation if if we keep talking, I can bring it up. But Rabbi does it each week um, to the congregation. He also does it on the first Friday of the month, blessing the people with birthdays for that month or anniversaries, milestones, celebrations. Um, but when I put it up on the screen, I put it with different words that Rabbi has asked me to translate it, which is equally lovely. And I'll show you those. Um, and we do the same way, the ping ponging that Andy and I just did, where Cantor Carol sings the Hebrew and Rabbi does the English. If you'll give me one moment, I'll bring that up so that you can see it because it's going to be part of this Friday night service. It was not the ping pong version was not part of the Friday night service this past week. So give me a moment. Get it onto the screen. Somebody else wants to talk, that's fine.
Well, real quick, I think Sharon sent out an email after our session last week about a song, God is In. And if you receive that, I would love to get some feedback on your thoughts. But let's get back to Sharon here. Okay.
So this is the priestly benediction. So I hope you can see that on screen. Rabbi translates the first one rather than God blesses us. May you be blessed and protected with good health and prosperity. So because Rabbi Barry projects that God is inside of us. God is around us. He's not sitting on a cloud up there in his big chair with his big beard blessing us. We have to create the feeling of being blessed. And by you, may you be blessed and protected. Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'kunecha. May the light of reason and love shine upon you. I know that's getting cut off by the pictures a little bit. Yisad Adonai panav elecha v'yasam lecha shalom. May you be lifted up by the power of our heritage and be a source of peace. So it's similar to the words that Andy did, but it doesn't say, may God do this for you. May
Correct.
God do this. You know, we're not asking God to do anything for us necessarily. Some people do, but we want to empower ourselves to do this. So.
Well, that's beautiful, Sharon, and I'm so glad that you were able to immediately pull that document up. And going forward, when we screen share, I'm going to send you my documents, and you can share maybe. The trouble is you don't know which one I might want,
Yeah,
but I have all that extra stuff, and you have it nicely.
Yeah, well, that's the PowerPoint that I use for Shabbat.
Oh, you pulled the PowerPoint. Gotcha. Okay. So, thank you, Stanley. So, once again, I love Rabbi's interpretation. It's beautiful, and the idea is, it's not some other source. It's we have the power. We have to take agency. We have agency. Anybody else?
It took me a long time to get that, what he was saying, but I think it makes sense, So I know when I go through prayers to put responsive readings up for Friday night, I mean, I prepare all that for the Friday night service. And I specifically look at prayers, and almost every single prayer in the prayer book says, may God do this, praise Adonai to do this, may God do this for me, may God do that. So sometimes I take liberty to make changes to the words that are in the book or just skip those because I know that Rabbi won't read those. So I make it work for Congregation Va-Dor, so that it comes across the way that Barry's speaking to us with.
I don't mind God.
Right. No, I understand, Stanley, and I like the word mystery, which Rabbi does not per se. I would just say that there's this quote that I've shared with you guys before, and it goes something like, "Oh gosh, now that I want to say it, hang on one second, I'll get it. Hang on one second. Here, I'll turn back in the Siddur, and I know where it is. Hang on. Okay, here it is. Faith is not knowledge of what the mystery of the universe is, but the conviction that there is a mystery and that it is greater than us. So the idea is that we are part of something greater than ourselves. Now, having said that, it can still, that interpretation can still be in concert with Rabbi Barry's take, because For example, in the Ve'ahavta, there are 3 paragraphs. The second paragraph is the one that enjoins us to live in balance with nature. If we do not live in balance, things are going to get wonky. Get ready, and it's going to be a rough ride. Well, here we are. We see what's going on. And so we are not even using our common sense as rational beings to know that this toxic behavior of ours, whether it be guns or how we savage the environment or whatever, is not good. It's not good in the short term. It's not good in the long term. And yet we just keep on keeping on. And the thing is, and I'm going to segue into something Rabbi mentioned to me, so I can honor what he shared with me when he asked me to get on. But real quick, so I'll give you something very simple. So let's say that, well, 15, 20 years ago, I was appalled at how General Motors killed the electric car. There's actually a documentary on that. And why? It was another option looking to the future, but they were so short-sighted. They just had to deny any diminishment of pumping more oil out of the ground. Really? And I'll give you a case in point. My current vehicle, I got it in 2013, and now it's 9 years later. And it gets about 30 miles a gallon, let's say. Then I thought it probably should have gotten 37, 38, whatever. So let's say it got another 30%, 25% of mileage. So big oil they were going to lose 25% of the money. Well, there's more people being born. There's more consumers all the time. But move the narrative forward. And I'm not even talking about an electric car, just the good old internal combustion engine, just squeeze more efficiency out of that product. But the greed is what holds us back. So here we are, and I didn't mind too much when the price of gas went to $4. Now we're moving toward $5, and things are hurting in terms of across the economy and all that. So real quick, let's segue into what Rabbi brought up. One of the crazy elements of this particular portion, and this is one of the longest portions of the Torah portions, was about a woman who may have been involved in adultery. And so part of her punishment or her proof of innocence or guilt would be that she would drink some potion or something, and if the child, if she did not, or if she remained pregnant, then she was innocent, and if she wasn't pregnant, she was guilty, or something like that. And the essence that Rabbi Barry shared with me is this whole conversation about abortion and the nonsense about what's life, what's not life. And Rabbi said, as he communicated, Rabbi said that the body aborts eggs. Many times a fertilized egg is aborted hours, less than even a day after the insemination, because something wasn't right with the DNA or whatever. And so nature engages in abortion way more than anything humans might do. And so the foolishness of not allowing a larger template for making decisions, and why can't the women decide or be more involved in deciding? And 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 even if, and I'm saying this sort of going out on a limb because I don't want to offend anybody, but I want to include people. Why wouldn't there be an exemption for rape or incest? Why wouldn't there be, a larger option pool? It's so narrow. And once again, it sounds like patriarchy trying to usurp women's ability to be part of the process. That's crazy. That's absolutely crazy. And so, and if I was to make one more comment, and you can all jump in at some point, is that here we are after these recent spate of gun shootings and killings, and there's not even a whimper about the death of people breathing. And yet there's this uproar about the potential life that is yet to take its first breath. I mean, it makes no sense to me, and I'm sure a lot of people. If there was some sense of consistency about the preciousness of life, maybe we could sort of embrace the whole conversation. But it's so contra, logic that it defies. It just makes me crazy. So Rabbi was basically saying that even in the Torah, it reminds us that the body engages in abortion all the time because the body knows that there are problems. So here we are. Not that you shouldn't love a child that is born with Down syndrome, but there are so many other complications even beyond that. And people play God all the time by not immediately passing a law changing the age from 18 to 21 to purchase an assault rifle. Congress is playing God and allowing people to die that shouldn't die. Wendy, please. Got to unmute.
I'll unmute her. Go ahead. You're
Wanna-
unmuted.
It's T. Wendy Franks getting feedback.
All right, is that better now?
Mm-hmm.
I want to make a comment about the first part of it. As you're giving all these good reasons, why can't a woman make her own decision? Why do these guys think they have a right to this and that? I think it's a lot simpler than that. It's simply the fact that when a baby dies in the womb because it had a defect or something, it's looked at that God saw this baby wouldn't survive, and that's why the baby didn't make it. Nature made that decision. Nobody made that decision for them. And I think it's that simple. Whatever is wrong with the baby, as long as nature makes that decision, then that's God or whatever it is you believe in, a higher power. But once you involve any people, it's very different. Because again, as you see, and I shouldn't say most, I don't know what everybody's opinion is on that, but would you say the majority of the people that are anti-abortion are people who are especially religious? I shouldn't say anti-abortion, though I might be pro-abortion. It certainly wouldn't be my first choice, unless extreme situations, I wouldn't want to go through that. But when you talk rape or incest, that still has nothing to do with nature or God deciding. If this was going to be a healthy baby that could survive, then why shouldn't it survive? The fact of what the mother will go through is irrelevant. The other thing with this whole thing with getting ultrasounds and knowing what your baby is going to have defects, you can have a Down syndrome child that is anywhere from super limited to minimally limited. We've seen on those, like on TV shows, what was it, that show Life Goes On years ago, where one of the kids had Down syndrome. And I have a cousin with Down syndrome, and I'm amazed they got him to the level of functionality that they have. but you can't have Evan agree. My cousin too. They were trying to teach them how to clean up tables in a restaurant to see if they could get hired for that. And even if they could do it, the attitude was, I would rather watch Barney, even though, he's 30. You have a level of, there could be, you don't know just because you have a Down syndrome child, you could get one like the kid on Life Goes On. The one he was going to marry was going to community college. So there are some that come out that way. So people will argue, since it's on all different extremes, that one should, regular people should not make that decision. So I'd be curious if other people feel that it's mostly people who have strong beliefs in God that are anti-abortion, or it can just be people who are more feminist and not especially God believing at all.
Well, I have a comment before I do. Let me see if anybody else has to say something. Okay, well, real quick. So I agree with everything you said, Wendy. Totally get that. But a number of years ago, I took an ethics class, and I learned that approximately 10 million women every year die from botched abortions, illegal abortions, whatever. 10 million. In the United States, it's anywhere from 250,000 to about 400,000, give or take. And here's the deal. So you can outlaw abortion. It's not going to stop abortion. And here's the deal. Many of those women who are seeking abortions already have children. So what we're ending up doing...
None of that is going to make a difference.
No, I get that.
All those lawmakers, they're going to say, well, it's not my fault that they chose not to use birth
Understood.
control.
I understand that. I understand that. But my point for me, for my own conscience, is I am more concerned that these children will now no longer have a mother than the potential life that never became. I want my personal ethos wants to nurture and celebrate the entities that are already here, as opposed to enhancing the suffering here. So I want children to have a mother and father, as opposed to not having a mother and father. And
you're going by logic. These people are
not so much logic. It's an ethic.
They're going to be thinking emotionally, religiously. I'm
thinking ethically and morally. There's definitely a lot to be said. That argument is a perfect entry point to have this conversation. So basically, even if their attitude is the woman's making her own choice, if she wants to kill herself, but what about the children? At the end of the day, if they're really concerned about the child, they would choose differently. Instead of worrying about punishing the woman, protecting the child.
Excuse me, put me on mute because I'm having groceries delivered.
Anyway, so anybody else want to share their thoughts, their feelings about being Klei Kodesh? Being Klei Kodesh, vessels of holiness, showing up tonight, engaging in La'asot B'divrei Torah. Hopefully you'll all communicate the words of the priestly benediction to your children or your grandchildren. Make a new kesher, a new connection with your family. Sharon had her hand.
So I know when I've done the priestly benediction with you, I did it tonight. I did it on our Shabbat services, our Havdalah services. That's really the first time I really participated actively in doing it. And it gives me a feeling of peace, a peaceful feeling being able to read those words. They're powerful words. They're really powerful words. The Hebrew, and whether it's the translation that you had up on screen before, whether it's the translation you read when you do a blessing over for a wedding couple or bat mitzvah or bar mitzvah for children or whatever, or the ones that Rabbi interpreted. They're powerful words. And it really gives you a sense of power being able to share them with someone else. And I think that's what you were trying to get a point. I think that's the point that you were trying to make tonight. And I never really thought of it that way, but I know that every time you've asked me to read them, I felt that connection to those words. And I think it's a very powerful statement to make, to say, share them, whether it's with your partner, whether it's with your grandparents, your children, your aunts and uncles, whoever's near and dear, your good friends or whatever. I think they're wonderful words in Hebrew and in English, whatever translation you want to use. And I think they're very powerful. And I think they share a really powerful bond. They could.
So I'm gonna dovetail this conversation about being a vessel of God into this abortion thing. And let's say a woman is the quintessential holy vessel. She's a vessel whether she's carrying a child. She's a vessel whether she's nurturing a child. And pretty much everything I said was children need a mother and a father, but certainly a mother. And I would say for me that to deprive a child of a mother because you're playing morality games is an egregious act. And if these women are so desperate that they feel they cannot feed another child or care for another child, please don't take that life to prove a point when you will now have children that don't have a mother. So Sharon, if you'd like, you could bring up that screen you shared with Rabbi's words, and I'll sing the Hebrew, and you can read those words.
I closed it when.
No worries.
Give
no
me a
worries.
second.
I would love to do that with you with those new texts.
Gotta get there. Okay. All right.
And once we do this, I know Harris his signature thing is to sing one more song at the end. So Sharon and I are going to share Rabbi's text. Here comes the Hebrew. Yevarechecha Adonai v'yishmerecha.
May you be blessed and protected with good health and prosperity.
Ya'er Adonai panav elecha v'chuneka.
May the light of reason and love shine upon you now and always.
Yisa Adonai panav elecha v'yasem lecha shalom.
May you be lifted up by the power of our heritage and be a source of peace.
V'yasem lecha shalom. And so once again, let's unmute everybody and maybe have a few sharings before we say sayonara, Erev Tov, Laila Tov. And of course, I want to hear Harris's crooning. Love his crooning.
I think you need to sing something about San Francisco since you're leaving your heart to go there.
Well, I'm going to tell a joke. Forget the
Okay.
singing. It's about an interfaith situation where there were shorter rooms and a priest had a share room with a rabbi. And the priest gets up in the morning. He said, I had a dream about heaven. And in the Jewish section in heaven, it was horrible. It was full of people and smell some gefilte fish and large and ham. It's had the worst smell in the world. I couldn't take it. I had to leave. And the rabbi said, "That's funny. I had a dream I went to heaven, and in the Catholic section, there was nobody there." Okay.
Okay. I want to
I
hear a
guess it didn't
song.
go.
I want to hear a song, Harris.
Oh,
Stanley,
wow.
wait, Stanley has his hand up.
Go
Stanley.
ahead, Stan.
Well, if you've ever been on the Mishaberach list for not having good health or related, I don't think that wording is appropriate. I can't bless myself, but I can have the rabbi bless me. I can have God bless me. And if you don't think that that helps you, maybe not. But I enjoyed hearing God helping me get off the Mishaberach list. So when we disturb certain traditions for a particular reason that isn't and clear, I'm not anti-God, and so I think we don't need to take God out of the whole proposition here.
Well, that's an interesting point. Sharon could attest to this, and some of you as well. I've tried to find the right wording for you guys to move forward with this conversation. And so rather than bifurcate the way Rabbi does, where it's bringing religion and science, I say a melding of tradition, science, and spirituality. And so depending on how you architect that, at least that makes room for the whole package. So anyway, we can have this conversation later.
Well, I don't understand one thing. God and the Jews, and look what happened to the Jews. The Inquisition, World War II, the Holocaust, what's going on now. And I don't know how you can believe in God after what happened to all these. And if it wasn't for all these things that happened, there would be 100 million Jews in the world, not 15 million, but 100 million, because of all these deaths that took place. So I have a hard time with God because of what happened to the Jews.
Well, I think one of the things that Rabbi Barry is trying to communicate is we need to redefine God. And so that song that I sent last week, if you listen to it, God is in, we could have a whole session or 2 or 10 on this thing. So go back to that song. Maybe Sean can resend it if you didn't get it or forgot where you put it. And that's a great place to start. So thank you, Harris. Thank you, Stan.
Okay.
Thank you, Joel. Alan, anybody? I didn't. Yeah, Wendy, you going to say goodbye? You're okay?
I'm not sure if she's saying goodbye.
You want
No,
to?
I'm not saying goodbye. I want to apologize because these people were scheduled to come between 8 and 9, so they shouldn't have disturbed us. I'm sorry.
No worries. No worries.
Two, my foot is much better. It's not hurting, so that you know that. But I wanted to say something about the benediction way back, just a comment, because when you read it, so often people, when they pray for that kind of thing, but they have the word God in it. And I know every time I have a friend who has somebody who's sick or whatever, I always say to them, I'll pray for you, I'll pray for them, though it's not something I would really think of doing, but I know it's the kind of thing that's important to them. And I don't really feel like whether people pray or not, that made the difference in them getting better. And I know with the Mishaberach, I had asked the rabbi ages ago about it, and like when somebody who's really, really ill and they're not going to get better, and the rabbi said the mishaberach is more for that whatever it is, it will be comfortable, and people will be able to cope or whatever. It's more of a soothing prayer. It doesn't mean, yes, it's going to make you well. Anyway, I just wanted your thoughts on that, because like I said, when people say that kind of thing.
Okay. So I've said this on numerous occasions. One of my favorite quotes, almost of all quotes about prayer. And when I've had the opportunity to teach children, and maybe in the particular Siddur that's maybe in the congregation, I have the kids turn to it. Here's the quote. Prayer cannot mend a broken bridge, rebuild a ruined city, or bring water to parched fields. Prayer can mend a broken heart, lift up a discouraged soul, and strengthen a weakened will. And the mishaberach is kind of like that. It's a prayer. It's trying to engender ruach, to be able to surrender to the forces of the universe, to allow you to summon your own resources to get through this crisis, to follow the doctor's orders or be patient for the medicine to work, or just suspend judgment for a little bit to see how things turn. But the idea is that a blessing, a prayer, as Sharon mentioned, when just by saying the words, by surrendering to the text, she feels lighter, she feels a connection. And that's the key. How do we feel a connection? And so, Stanley, I agree with you that it's a little off-putting when we change the verbiage, but I'll give you one example that maybe you can work with. So there are all sorts of changes in progressive Judaism. Here's one that's pretty minor in terms of the actual change, in terms of how much of a change, but it's a big change in terms of changing the tone. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech. Change the word melech to ruach, which means spirit or wind, as opposed to king or ruler. So just that one word change opens us up to the idea that things can be changed, and then how we change them is another conversation. But we have to be open to some change. That's why we're here. We're not Orthodox Jews. We're not conservative Jews. We're progressive Jews. We won't even put a specific movement label. We're just progressive. And so here we are. We discuss Torah. We have certain angles on the Torah. And so I agree with you that it's uncomfortable at times to surrender the word God, but let's allow for some change, and then maybe other tweaks won't be quite as difficult. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu ruach ha'olam. Ruach. And it's two syllables, just like melech. And my reason, one, is that it's less masculine and more gender neutral, which I think is a better way to frame God. And so, anyway, there you go.
Like that. Last one. Go ahead, Wendy. I'll unmute you.
Just another thing, and it is true that people who are ill, who have a more positive attitude, do better. So in that sense. So in terms of it being encouraging. Okay, thank you very much.
Thank you, Andy, for a lovely evening and
You did
great insight.
You did an excellent job replacing the rabbi.
Well, I mean, replacing, standing in
and stepping up.
Okay.
And with like 20, 25 minutes notice, he really pulled it off.
Wow.
So
Well,
Thank you very, very much.
I wanted to say, I couldn't say no to the rabbi, so I said okay, and I got to work as soon. I wasn't even home. I was driving home, and I got to work, as you could see. So thank you,
Thank you very
Sharon.
much. I
Thank you,
appreciate it,
Sam.
Andy. Thank you
Thanks,
all for
Andy.
attending. Have a
Take
great
care.
week. I will not see you on Friday, but I will see you
Have a
next
nice
Tuesday.
trip.
Thank you all.
You
Have a
too,
wonderful.
Harris.
Thank you.
Right. All right.